Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Izzo.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Happy Monday, everybody. We start a new week here on the big show of the final night of the NBA regular season. The Wolves getting Kevin Garnett back in the house to see a JV game with none of the big players playing because the Wolves had already locked up the 6th seed last night. A royal welcome. This, honestly, 5 years ago, we thought this would never happen, considering Glenn Taylor still owned the team and how hostile things had got between the two parties. They actually had to delay the start of the game because Garnett then got a chance to see Anthony Edwards. They dapped there before the game. Granted, I don't know. I think everybody was there to see KG. Frankly, anything that happened on the floor was secondary. As we mentioned, Minnesota facing the Pelicans last night, locked into the 6th seed. Terrence Shannon Jr. has been amazing the last 4 games when the Wolves haven't really been playing for anything. He had 26 again last night. KG loved it. After that spin, Beranger was fantastic as well. Played 31 minutes last night. Did a little bit of everything, including that alley-oop dunk. He had 24, had 7 blocks, 13 rebounds in the Wolves' win. More importantly, what happened last night, Denver decided to try, and the Spurs did not. Why that's relevant, because if the Spurs had beaten the Nuggets last night and the Lakers beat the Jazz, then the Lakers would have clinched the 3 seed and pushed the Nuggets to the 4th spot. Now, if you're Denver, you have to go and beat Minnesota. You have to likely go through the Spurs and then go through the Thunder to get to the NBA Finals. Whereas if you are the 4, in theory, you have to, granted, beat the Rockets, which I think Denver would have been heavily favored to do that, then get by the Thunder. Just one team to get to potentially the NBA Finals. As it is, the Wolves will get the Denver Nuggets beginning on Saturday afternoon on Amazon Prime. The Rockets will play the Lakers. The other matchups we'll find out after the play-in tournament, which starts tomorrow night. Blazers will play the Suns. The Warriors will play the Clippers. The 7th seed gets San Antonio. The 8th seed gets OKC. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Conference, the Pistons are the 1 seed. Belloweight, whoever is the number 8 seed out of the play-in tournament. Boston, despite losing 4 of its top 9 players from last year, Jason Tatum being out for nearly the entire season, the Celtics are the 2. Hawks and the Knicks will play in the opening round. That's a revenge series there. Remember, Atlanta went in and beat New York with Trae Young, went crazy at Madison Square Garden. Gosh, was that like 4 years ago, 5 years ago now? Raptors and the Cavs is the 4-5. Magic Sixers tomorrow night. The Hornets, watch out for Charlotte. They could be dangerous. I think that was Barkley's team he was mentioning last night on Inside the NBA. And they'll host Miami on Wednesday. And with that, we say good morning, everybody, and welcome to a Monday morning edition of Hot Mic here on the 13th day of April, 2026. Hope all enjoyed a great weekend. Certainly yesterday was to get outside and enjoy some springtime temperatures, with more coming our way later this week. A lot to unpack from the weekend, and we'll try and do our best of that here over the next hour and 50 some odd minutes or so. I would say, just looking at the playoff bracket now that it's here, and we've got the play-in tournament takes over this week with 2 games tomorrow, 2 games on Wednesday and then 2 more on Friday, and then the actual postseason gets going. We will give you the full debrief here on television for those to get ready for, because this is a brave new world now that starts for the NBA. Amazon has the exclusive rights to the play-in tournament, so they'll have, the next 6 basketball games that, if you care about it, they'll have those. And then when the postseason, the actual playoffs start on Saturday, they have the first 2 there, including the Wolves game. So just be prepared for that. No, if TNT is so, and I'm sure for many, I don't care about the regular season. I turn it on when the playoffs begin, and you watch TNT every night. Well, obviously that's not going to be the case. Now you're going to watch Amazon if you get it. NBC and Peacock are going to have games as well, along with ESPN and ABC. So a brave new television world begins for us starting tomorrow night. Lot to unpack here over a busy weekend. We'll get to the Shanley basketball mess here in a second, because I've been embroiled with that since about Friday afternoon at about 5 o'clock when I caught wind of what went down. I'm going to save a little bit for now. We're going to do much more on it later on in the show, because I've already got a handful of emails on it asking thoughts on it, and we'll prepare to unpack those as best we can. But for those that were ready to write off the Twins, myself included, here we sit on April 13th. And if you look at the Major League Baseball standings today, the Minnesota Twins have the best record in the American League. Just like everybody thought, because Tristan Gray plays for the team, and they're going to Toronto, the reigning American League champions, and browbeat the Blue Jays over the weekend, including beating up on future Hall of Famer Max Scherzer. Who saw that coming yesterday? Here's our guy Tristan Gray with a 3-run home run off former Met great Scherzer in the top of the second. Cody Clemens adds to the hit parade. This is swatted deep to right. The Blue Jays, as Corey Provis told us on Friday's show, are completely beat up right now and getting injured by the day. This is not the team we saw last October. That doesn't take anything away what the Twins did. Matt Wallner delivers with a base hit here in the 3rd inning. Makes it 5-1. Caratini added a sac fly. It's 6-1. Brooks Lee finally got out of his doldrums with that big hit on Thursday. Doubles down the left field line with the bases loaded. That will bring in Josh Bell and Wallner. The Twins erupt here in the 3rd inning, go up 8-1. Little double play, 6-4-3 to end it. Induced by one Justin Topa. And the Twins get I say it like that because I'm stunned as well, get a road series victory. 8-2 the final over the reigning American League champions. The Twins are 9-7 on the year. After they swept the Tigers, they take 2 of 3 from Toronto. Taj Bradley gets to 3-0 on the year after he goes 5 innings and strikes out 7. He walked 4, not his best control day yesterday. Rookie Andrew Morris made his Major League debut with his mom and dad in the stands, went 3 innings, allowed 6 hits, struck out 2. The Twins, who got blasted Friday, then come back and outscore the Blue Jays 15-6 over the final 2 games of the series. They are right back at home tonight. They flew to Toronto and then come right back to Target Field to get the Boston Red Sox, who are under 500. Garrett Crochet, one of the very best in baseball, the left-hander, will go for Boston tonight against Bailey Ober just after 6:30 with probably family and friends at Target Field. The temperatures are going to be a little bit warmer, but we'll see if anybody's going to the game, despite the fact the Twins' recent good play. So we'll see. Much more on that coming up on the show tomorrow. All right. I wanted to clear out here for our first segment on, I think, the major sports story of the weekend locally, which centered at Shanley High School, where I found out Friday afternoon that both varsity basketball coaches at Shanley, Stephen Weber, who's a Shanley alum, and Beth Maher, were fired as head coaches of their respective teams at Shanley. And the first thing I thought of immediately was Beth, because the Shanley girls have been to state each of the last 2 years. They won 16 games this past season. So immediately I'm mystified, because what? The success is there. It's not because of lack of performance. If anything, you want to point to the Shanley boys have not been very good. I believe they won 3 games in EDC play. It has been a struggle bus for the Deacons over the last handful of seasons. Shanley was 3-18 this season. But some further reporting on this, I was told that each of the coaches held their postseason meetings with athletic director Mark Holcraft, and were told they got high proficiency ratings. Mahers were in the 4s and 5s, which is as high as you can get. That happened right after the season wrapped, a couple weeks ago. And then late last week, they were brought in and told they were done. And immediately, at least for me, the red flags went off on this. We've been down this road before at Shanley. Did the story. It was 6 years ago in January, where the entire boys basketball staff resigned because of a parent mutiny that wanted Andrew Burns out as head coach. Burns resigned, as did his entire, in the middle of the season. That happened in January, the last instance. And I was told on this instance, for both of these teams, there were angry parents, again, at the center of it. Because there's nothing else you can tell me, specifically on the girls' side. Shanley was 16-10 this year. Maher got the Deacons to state for a second consecutive year. So it's not performance-induced there, right? There's nothing there you can sit there and tell me that Shanley on the court, on the girls' side, has underperformed. Again, considering what's at the top of that league, that the Horace girls who won it 2 years ago are still awfully damn good. Davies has been really, really good each of the last few years. Cheyenne had a great year with Morgan Milbrath in her first year as head coach. Red River's normally pretty solid. So they have Riley Sievert, who's a 2-time All-State selection that Beth has developed into that player, that Sievert's getting mid-major looks from the Mountain West Conference and beyond, that she's going to make her decision sometime this spring, early summer, of where she's going to play college basketball at. Jaya Taylor is the biggest thing going, the 7th grader who came on the scene last year and has continued to get better at Shanley. So you can't sit here and tell me that and if you would, I wouldn't believe it, because their track record hurts them here. It just does. We have reached out to Shanley. I did multiple times this weekend. We finally got a response from the school last night. It blew up social media-wise. I posted the story Saturday. I know Ryan Spitzer was working on it with the forum as well. And we got no comment, nothing out of Shanley for the longest time. Then they sent a statement out Sunday afternoon. This is from Mark Holcraft, the athletic director. St. John Paul II Catholic Schools is committed to its mission to teach the total person in all of its programs. When making decisions about the leadership of our activities programs, we consider a wide range of factors rooted in our mission, above all, the factors that enable our student athletes to flourish. Beyond that, we are not free to comment further about personnel matters. That is the largest nothing burger of a statement I've ever seen. I know the last part, they're not going to comment on personnel matters. But all the rest of that is just word salad that means nothing. And you've got two coaches that are sitting there thinking, what else could we have done? I'm sure for Stephen Weber, who's a Shanley, let me again remind you, he is a Shanley alum. He played football for Steve Lockway there. He is a deacon through and through, right? He took over when Craig Irwin stepped aside. And we're going to show you later in the show a pattern that has happened specifically with boys basketball at that school. But they're not the only sport that's immune to this. Football's in it as well. We'll save that for later in the show. To me, I shake my head at it because I've done this story before. And I did it before I was a dad. So I don't think I understood it maybe fully. Now that I'm a parent here, I think I have a better appreciation for it. I went back and I watched the commentary I did on our newscast after the first time this blew up on Shanley 6 years ago. And I said in there, parents' main objective is to support their kids and be quiet. And I could not agree with it more. I've run into this so many times that parents think that they can pull the strings because they think their kid is Division I worthy. Everyone's going to go and get a scholarship and play college basketball or some sort of college sport. And the reality is it's not true. And maybe we are to blame for that. We glorify the ones that are going off to Division I to play football, to play basketball, soccer, hockey, you name it. And maybe not enough on the academic side of it that are going and thriving in the classroom. So I'll take a little bit of the heat on that. But to me, it is unreal expectations that parents have on their kids and frankly on the coaches that they're being told, and I'm going to group all of AAU together on this if we're talking basketball, that they think that their son or daughter is going to be the next Paige Beckers, is going to be the next Cooper Flagg. And it's just not accurate. It just isn't. And this goes to a whole larger discussion. And last week we were hitting on NAL and the portal that there are so many bad agents out there. There are bad advisors that are telling people that, well, your son should be playing more. Why the hell is my son only playing 15 minutes? And he should be starting. If my son ever wants to go down the road of playing any sort of sport, I'm going to sit there. I will support him to the nth degree. And this might sound crazy and anybody who knows me. I'm not going to say a bleeping word. I support him. Let the coach. Again, Shanley made it to state and girls basketball each of the last 2 years. And I was told, another source told me, that Maher did not hear any complaints from parents this entire season. So what happened between the evaluation that was given, and it was a proficient rating for both coaches 2 weeks ago, to now where each of them are let go? Somebody's got to tell me that. I know they're going to say we're not going to comment on personnel matters. Okay, so here's the worst thing. You let the rumor mill run wild. And I believe the people that are telling me that parents are at the crux of this. Unhappy parents are at the crux of each of these dismissals. And it makes you look so foolish. It makes you look so small. I just shake my head at it. And so here we are. We're left on a Monday morning where this is festered now for 36 hours. And all we got is basically 2 lines of what they're supporting on this. It's just asinine. It really is. And I freely admit, I covered Stephen Weber when he played at Shanley. I've known him for 15 years. He went and played football for Lockway, both at Shanley and then MSUM. Good guy. All he wanted to do was help out his alma mater. We've had Beth on this show, I can't believe it, countless times since she took over. I've known Beth forever as well. Standout Bison women's basketball player to boot, right? She is not a run-of-the-mill figure in town. Just is not, right? People know who she is. And to let both go over perceived either weren't listening to a small, and I'm not going to indict all parents, I'm going to say a small but loud group of parents is just the worst, Really, to cave on this is so bad. Mike Brecker is a friend of mine who does our soccer broadcasts. He was a former AD at Shanley, and he got run over by parents when he just let it happen. And it seems like it's a recurring theme here. Reggie Jackson's a good guy. We've had Reg on the show. He lasted a couple years and resigned. I don't know Mark Holcraft. I can tell you, I'm sitting here, I'm not going to pretend like I'm some big deal, but I know all the ADs in town. I know Justin Beam at West Fargo, right? I know Aaron Ledoux at Horace. I know Dean Howgo at Moorhead. I don't know Mark. Frankly, I haven't had a chance to, no reason to reach out to him. All I know is his coaches have been recycled constantly. There's only two sports that have seemed immune to this. Baseball with Luke Rustad and football with Troy Mattern. And I can tell you this, each of them have had heat to be removed. I'm going to save that for later in the show because we got more to get to on it. Poll question is out here, and I'm curious to get some feedback on this because this isn't the first time we've heard these stories before. So what do you think of Shanley's basketball situation? I'm sure that some don't care. It's a private school in Fargo. They create their own mess. To me, I think totally preventable. I hope wins. The last one I don't want to see win, and don't get into coaching because that's the byproduct of this. What young coaches are going to sign up and do this anymore? Say, yeah, you know what? I want to get into high school coaching. Sure. Mike Zier, our great friend, posted me last night, who's been coaching for 25 years, been coaching high school football, said there's no way I would ever get into coaching high school basketball. None. Knowing the politics of it, knowing the ugliness of it. And he's damn straight on that. Because we have lost some great coaches over the last 10 to 15 years because of parents who got their way. I wonder how they feel this morning. They feel good about themselves because this outcome came. I mean, so we're rewarding, we whine enough, and we eventually get our way. My son is turning 7. My wife and I are trying our very best to raise him the best we can. That is certainly not something I'm instilling in my son, and I hope for a majority that are out there that are in sports, they're not condoning that either. That we complain enough, and then we're going to get our way. I shake my head at that. And I do. I feel for anybody that's between the age of 29 and 39 that says, I want to get into coaching. Because I feel for you on that. Much more on that coming up. We'll save about 10:35. We'll get back to that coming up later on in our show. We got a lot to get to today. Our guest lineup is brought to us by our great friends at Northwestern Mutual. We'll salute our best of the weekend coming up in just a few minutes. Some good nominees there after I hope, our last weekend without any local competition. At 9:35, Sam Herder will be back with us to unpack everything happening in FCS football. There's still a couple of waiver requests out there that could change what FCS football looks like coming up at 9:35. Our friend Jeff Kolpack will be here in studio at 10. The old football coach was back in town this weekend. Craig Bohl was up at Bison football practice on Friday. We'll have my conversation with Craig. We'll probably do that tomorrow. I didn't want to do it today, frankly, with the news going on with Shanley. It's too big a deal to me to bury it till later. We're hitting it hard and heavy. So we'll have our conversation with Craig probably tomorrow or Wednesday on the show. So we'll talk with Jeffrey about that and a few other topics at 10, including a Masters rewind with Rory McIlroy winning a second straight green jacket. So that and a bunch more is on the Shanley situation at 10:35. We're glad you're joining us. We're just getting started. We come back. We'll salute our best of the weekend. Glad you're joining us on a Monday morning edition of Hot Mike. We're back after this. All right, it's time for our best of the weekend. We do it each and every Monday, roughly at 9:20. Got long-winded there in our first segment, but lots to unpack there. We are 11 days out from the NFL draft, which is going to be huge news around here. We've been under the assumption that 2 Bison players are going to get drafted, Cole Payton and Bryce Lance. What if I told you there's a potential of number 3 could get drafted. Yesterday, ESPN put out a headline, 7 prospects climbing draft boards. I scanned it just to say, oh, hey, who's on it? Just trying to make sure I'm staying in the know. Dylan Thieneman's on there from Oregon, who the Vikings might be taking with the 18th overall pick. I scanned down to the bottom, and lo and behold, there's Barika Penu's name. Here's what it says. Why he rose, his 4.68 second 40 at North Dakota State's Pro Day will cause some to pause. Penu gained 10 or more yards on 17% of his runs this past season. He had 2 100-yard rushing games last year in which he carried the ball fewer than 15 times. Teams also like what they saw and heard from him at the American Bowl. What they're saying, quote, I take a flyer. He's strong, finishes runs, tough, and will commit in pass protection. That's from an NFC running backs coach. Now, in the Beast, Dane Brugler's massive draft opus, he has Penu ranked 27th of the running backs that are going to go out. Last year, 25 running backs were drafted. So this is not out of left field. I think I had a couple of, I believe, Bison fans were like, there's no way he's going to get drafted. And he may not, but he's ended up at a camp somewhere, folks. I think, again, this goes to more appreciation for what he did last year. Barika had a really good year. He may not have been the home run hitter like Bruce Anderson was, like Sam Ojuri and John Crockett were. He was still pretty darn good as a running back, considering now the NFL is potentially looking at it using it. And again, draft picks are what they are. I know Cam Miller was drafted last year and then got released after training camp was done. So it all depends on the eye of the beholder, the team that actually uses said pick. But teams aren't in the process of giving away draft picks on guys. We're going to have Barika on later this week as things continue to percolate for him as we get closer to the NFL draft. Also part of our best of the weekend, this is a shout-out to friend of the show that's got her first Division I head coaching opportunity. Morgan Page was here in Fargo when Bison women's basketball stunk, right? We're talking about the high side of Bison women's basketball right now. Avery Coonan announced last week she's coming back. They just won the Summit League Championship. Morgan was here. She was hired by Maren Walseth in 2016 as an assistant coach after a dynamite playing career out of Marion, Iowa. She's in the Hall of Fame in her high school. Played ball at Wisconsin. Starts her collegiate coaching career here in Fargo. And, I mean, she coached some bad teams. You look back, the 16-17, 17-18. Walseth's last year was 18-19. Heck, the Bison didn't even make the Summit League tournament one of those years, right? She stays on staff with Jory Collins when he gets hired in 2019. Coaches here for 2 more years. Then gets hired at Kansas, where Jory Collins had just come from. She spent the last 5 years at KU. We had Morgan on the show a couple times. I think was a big reason why Elle Evans may have gone to Kansas. Yesterday, I heard Morgan's name potentially for the St. Thomas opening. A couple others. She's going to the Atlantic 10. She was hired yesterday as the head coach at Loyola Chicago. Congratulations to Mo Page. She will do a great job there. She's a great basketball mind. Coach, as I mentioned, here for 5 years in Fargo, and now off to the Atlantic 10. Congrats to Morgan. That's awesome stuff. Congrats are also in order on a Monday after the NCAA hockey season. How many times you heard this? To the Denver Pioneers. For the 3rd time in 5 years, Denver has won the NCAA hockey championship. They did it again on Saturday early evening. I know plenty were, I can't use the word, griping about the start time. Hey, when ESPN says you play, you play. Wisconsin grabbed the early lead. Badgers, who, remember, they beat UND on Thursday behind their great goaltender in Daniel Hauser, who had not given up a goal till there in the 3rd period, where finally Denver broke the tie, or got on the board They break the tie not even that much later in the game. I mean, the game was great. For those that don't watch much college hockey, they were treated to a fabulous finish here. Both goalies were really good. Johnny Hicks was great. Boston Buckburger is my new favorite name in all of sports. He shoots it. It's tipped by Kyle Jazowski, who tips it in. Again, Boston Buckburger. What a fabulous name. Just see a slight tip there from Jazowski. That ends up being your game winner. Denver wins an 11th national championship. A 2-1 win over Wisconsin. By the way, Wisconsin now has an opening at AD. Chris McIntosh, their AD, announced yesterday that he's going to work for the Big Ten. So Wisconsin, just a heads up here, now has an opening for a new president, an opening for a new AD. This is the red lights that Luke Fickell may not be the head football coach after this season at Wisconsin. We'll save that for another time. Lastly, shout out to Darren Mueller and the Bison softball team. What in the world got into NDSU this weekend in Vermillion? They routed South Dakota in the 3 games down. That first off, they were just probably happy to be back playing after they got snowed out last weekend. All the Bison did was take it to USD in a way that's never been done before, including 21 runs scored on Saturday, a new Division I record for the Bison. Yesterday, they scored 9 unanswered and beat the Coyotes 10-5. First series sweep for NDSU in Summit League play in 2 years. It's been not great times for Bison softball after they were the class of the Summit League, I'd say, for a decade. It's been pretty low times here. So the fact that they were able to get their first series sweep in over 2 years, impressive. They scored 35 runs in the series. Most for NDSU in a Summit League series since they scored 41 against Fort Wayne in 2015. And they were, those teams were bad back then. I credit NDSU for elevating the rest of the league. Bison are back home tomorrow. They got St. Thomas. They have a doubleheader on Wednesday. We are slated to televise that here on Extra. So you got a chance to see them as they're now 3-3 in Summit League play. Congrats to the Bison there. All right, we'll get back on track here. We come back. Our guy Sam Herder will join us for some FCS news, including one QB looking to keep on playing. And it's April. Hot Mike back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mike off and rolling here on a busy Monday morning. Jeff Kolpack will join us at about a half hour's time. Always get our week started with our guy Sam Herder. Chat everything FCS football related as we're counting down to the NFL draft. We'll see how many NFL draft-worthy guys we have coming up here in about 10 days' time. But I want to start on the field, or I guess off the field is where all the drama is happening here, where there's a potential for an FCS semifinalist team to get its starting quarterback back. Tell us what you know about Pat McQuaid's deal with Villanova right now.
Yeah, I'm guessing this has kind of been in the works for a while, but we didn't really learn about it until somewhat recently. And that is, like you said, Villanova's quarterback, Pat McQuaid, is looking for a waiver to get an extra year. I believe he had a JUCO year in there early on in his career. And he was pivotal to Villanova making the semifinals last year. I thought he had his best career, or his best season of his career. He threw for a little over 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and he was a 2-year starter before that at Nichols. And when he transferred to Villanova, honestly, I was like, I don't know, because he was okay at Nichols, but he wasn't like spectacular. So I'm like, I'm not sure if he's the guy for Villanova, but he played with a ton of confidence. And like I said, he played the best ball of his career. And if he can get one more year of eligibility, any team will take their starting quarterback back, especially if he helped lead you to the semifinals.
Well, spring ball is either over for some schools or going on right now. This is not like adding like a backup tight end. If you're going to get your start, it's April 13th. I mean, this is late in the game, man.
Yeah, I think there's a decent amount of guys in the FCS still waiting to hear back if they're going to get their one more year approved. I think there's a couple of guys on UND's defense that are still waiting to hear. I know Rex and Porter Connors at UC Davis, 2 All-American level guys. They're still in school, hoping to get one more extra year due to some injuries they suffered last year. So this waiver process and that's why I think last week we talked about the play 5 and 5. If that happened, you wouldn't have to worry about kind of the waiver process, because it's kind of it's so up in the air on if you're going to get your waiver request and approved or not. And sometimes it takes so long that, these guys are still in school hoping to play next fall, but they don't know if they're going to be able to play next fall yet.
That's the fascinating part of the 5-for-5 deal. And I had 2 emails about this last week asking if the red shirt counts as part of the 5. I look at Nathan Hayes at North Dakota State. Does that red shirt count or does it not? And then would he have another year if it's grandfathered in 2027? We don't know on that yet.
Yeah, if this went through moving forward, there wouldn't be any red shirts at all. If you don't play your freshman year, that still counts toward your 5, or you could play all 5. But as far as being grandfathered in, I think that is the tricky part of, okay, you implement a new rule, and then everyone in the past that didn't get that rule, whether they sue or whether they just, maybe they do get grandfathered in a little bit. I don't know. And then plus there's folks who maybe played all 4 years and they think they're done, and, maybe they get a 5th year starting next year. So I don't know. I do think in that sense, you get 5 years to play 5 makes sense.
Yes.
With that said, though, if you're a 5th year senior, you're in your last year, and you unfortunately tear your ACL in game 1, your career is just done. There are no medical red shirts or anything like that. So that is one part where I'm that would be tough for a senior if they suffered a season-ending injury early and they're just, their career is just done.
When visiting with Craig Bohl, he was here on Friday. He was running the AFCA, the American Football Coaches Association. This was something that he told us that they had tabled it until the NCAA brought it back, when President Trump brought it back to the forefront, because I think they thought, and we've talked about this, Sam, with all the lawsuits and the litigation on this, they thought the 5-for-5 thing is like radiation. We can't touch it. Now the president's brought it to the forefront. They think they may have a chance to make this pass. I think this is going to materialize maybe before the football season begins.
Yeah, and the NCAA loses quite a bit in court cases, but it seems when it comes to eligibility,
they're winning.
Cases, they're winning more than they're losing. Yes. And so it seems there is positive momentum there. And it is interesting that you have Craig Bohl, and then his right-hand man is Bob Nielsen from South Dakota, who are trying to make a lot of these changes. And I saw Craig and Bob in Nashville. Actually, they were, running around and having meetings and all that. And I got a chance to talk to Bob for a couple of minutes, and I asked him how retirement is. And I feel like I'm more busy than when I was coaching, just because they're trying to not only just push through some of these changes, but just talking to coaches and ADs and, maybe even some players to try to figure out what makes sense and what can hold up in court. And it seems like you get 5 years to play 5. Sounds like it would hold up pretty well, but we'll see kind of how quickly things can progress with this.
I'm glad you brought up that the court cases deal, because there was a few tweets on that over the weekend or on Friday that the misnomer is the NCAA is getting hammered in court. They are on some things. Eligibility-wise, they're not. Eligibility-wise, they're actually winning more than they're losing on that. That's why I think, again, the tracks are laid for the 5-for-5 to potentially come about sooner than maybe we all think that could happen.
Yeah, they're when it comes to transfer portal stuff, they're losing quite a bit, and also anything that has
NIL.
to do with NIL, paying players. But as far as the eligibility stuff, like you said, they are winning more than they're losing. They have lost some, and every situation is different, whether it's injuries or JUCO doesn't count toward, your Division I eligibility, stuff like that. But it does seem like, because it kind of coincides with just regular college students too, or typically you go to college for 4 to 5 years. And so I just think, I know common sense doesn't win in courts, but when you have 7th and 8th and 9th year seniors, at some point you're kind of okay, this isn't really what college sports are supposed to be. Now, freedom to move, getting paid to play, that all stuff to me makes sense to a certain extent, but guys being 28 years old and playing college football or college athletics is just kind of wild.
Email comes in. Dom, can you ask Sam any FCS teams going with the jersey patches that are allowed now in 2026? Do you know of any that have signed off on this?
I haven't seen any yet.
Yep.
I know like Wyoming, they're not FCS obviously, but they just recently announced that they're having a jersey patch. I know Tom Wistersill at the Big Sky was talking to me, and he was trying to get a conference-wide jersey patch where every single team, every single sport has, one sponsor. It fell through, and he told me like the ADs gave me a deadline, and the only way it would work is if the money earned would be more than like what Montana could make, if they went with, a Town Pump or a local sponsor like that. And at the end of the day, he just couldn't get the sponsor that made sense for everyone. So now it goes back to the individual schools. I would imagine teams like Montana and Montana State could get, a jersey patch sponsor. Like Idaho, I could see like, the Dakotas as well. And I know some fans probably don't like it, but at the same time, you're not going to notice it a whole lot. And if it brings you $300,000 extra a year, like that money can go and cover up a lot of things, especially with the house settlement, and teams aren't getting as much NCAA distribution that can help make up for it. So I would imagine FCS teams are pursuing it right now, trying to get some jersey patch sponsors.
So I'm looking at what the oversight committee signed off on when they made this announcement on it. It's going to be on the sides. They can have it on. Game pants cannot be included in it. One additional commercial or nonprofit trademark logo during conference championship competition. Logos may not exceed 4 square inches. So, I mean, we're not talking gaudy things like soccer has or anything like that. But again, in an era where schools are looking to get money from the stone, Sam, this makes a heck of a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I'm trying to like picture as I'm watching FCS games, because was it last year that schools could start to have sponsors on the field?
Yes.
Logos on the field. And I can't remember if maybe like Montana had one. I can't remember for sure, but like as a fan, you're going to notice that more, like a logo on the field. And that's already been happening. And like, there hasn't really been a whole lot of fuss about that. So yeah, on some logo or a logo on the jersey, at first sight, like the first time you see a picture of it as a fan, you might go, I don't like that. But as the season progresses, you're probably not going to notice it a whole lot, which, I mean, I don't know. I guess the companies don't like to hear that no one's going to notice the logo on there, but, is what it is, I guess.
Again, it's part of the evolution of what's happening in college sports, specifically college football right now, where Craig Bold made this point as well to us, and this is my last thing, saying the sky's not falling. I mean, we talk about this stuff on a weekly basis, but the sport has never been more popular. Ratings are through the roof for it, and it's FCS football as well, that we tend to focus on, I won't say negative, but the newsy part that's going on. The actual product on the field has never been more popular, and that's evident even in FCS football.
Yeah, the TV ratings continue to go up, and even it ebbs and flows a little bit depending on the school. But even like attendance wise, like there are some FCS and G5 level schools that have seen their attendance going up. So it still is very popular, and TV ratings, that could just be some of that could be betting, as well as that gets more popular. That could help with the TV viewership. But it still is a wildly popular sport. College basketball is still wildly popular, both on the men's and women's side. And even, some of the NCAA tournaments, like softball and baseball, they get great TV viewerships as well. So it, like during the season, I think a lot of us kind of like not forget, but we push aside all of the off the field stuff. But then once the off season hits, like all of this stuff, is being brought up, especially because, changes are being pushed through the NCAA legislative process, where we're talking about NIL and eligibility and all that. And, it is messy, all off the field, off the court stuff. But it's like you said, like the sky isn't falling, at the same time. And, tailgating is still fun, and game atmospheres are still fun. So it's kind of a balance of realizing it is messy, but it still is, I prefer college sports a lot more than professional sports, just in my opinion.
As we talk about all the time, all the newsy stuff happens now. This is when, honestly, the off season is even crazier than when actually the season is happening. Good stuff as always, bud. Have a great week. We'll see you next Monday, okay?
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
We'll talk to Sam next week as we get ready for the NFL draft a week from now. We'll take a final break here. We'll wrap up hour one. Kolpack coming up in our second hour. Got a bunch more emails coming in on the Shanley basketball situation as well, which will hit at about 10:30. Back on Hot Mic right after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Our thanks to our guy Sam Herder for giving us a few minutes as we start each and every Monday with that. Portal season rolls on. It's getting crazy today for college hockey because it officially opens today. So there will be a flurry of activity there. Basketball, there's another week or so to go. Now, it's not necessarily who's in. It's now destination we're looking at. The Bison, we found out last week, Tamari Wheeler-Thomas ended up at Boise State. The second Bison departure we now know, Trayson Anderson, who is the sensational sophomore out of Lincoln, Nebraska. We had heard potential, maybe the Big Ten, because maybe it was going to be a reunion in his hometown of Lincoln. That did not transpire. He's actually heading to the Big East, to the Butler Bulldogs. Anderson announced over the weekend that he signed with Butler. He spent the last 2 years at North Dakota State, emerged as a double-digit per-game player in the Summit League after coming off the bench for the first 13, 14 games of the season, then was inserted into the starting lineup when conference season began. He had a run, I believe, of 4 straight 20-point games. That size, his ability to shoot from outside, I think we all were under the impression that likely a return to Fargo was probably going to be minute at best, and obviously that did not come to pass. So he's on his way to the Butler Bulldogs, now coached by former Butler player Ronald Norwood, got the job there. Thad Matta just retired as head coach of Butler earlier last month. They are not what they have been, and it just goes with, again, NIL, the amount of money that it gets poured into that program, that they may, I don't know if they're ever going to get back to the level where they were when they were in the Missouri Valley Conference and then moved to the Big East and have the back-to-back national championship game appearances that they had in 2010 and 2011 with the great Gordon Hayward. Nord was part of those teams as well when Brad Stevens was the head coach. But that's where Trayson Anderson will end up. So we're still waiting Noah Federson, where he will go. Dom Clay went in, Max Marley, Emil Skuta, all of those departures. Travion Carson Travion's the big one. And from what I've heard, numbers of over $1.5 million. Like Jakari White got 1.6 last year to go to Virginia. That Virginia would say that was money well spent. Virginia won an NCAA tournament game. They're going to get that money back from TV revenue by them winning a game in the tournament. That's what they consider, hey, we spent the money, we're going to get it back. And Jakari was great, and it's life-changing money for him. Chance maybe to go play pro basketball somewhere. That's how it works. We'll break. We come back. We'll start hour 2. Jeff Kolpack around the bend. Chat some Bison football. The old ball coach was back in town this weekend. We'll chat about that and a heck of a lot more. And we start our second hour right after this.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo. It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2. I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2.
All right, here he is, everybody. Jeff Kolpack joins us each and every Monday. What are you rocking some shades here? What's that about?
I'm a little miffed.
About what?
My Severide Award isn't included in the opening.
You want to look? I got about 5 of them back here, so you can go look at mine here if you want to go do that.
Yeah, but when's the last one?
Saturday. Thank you.
Oh, so you and I.
Yes, Saturday.
Well, I think I'm pretty cool now.
Come on, we got some
my
serious...
golf show.
Yeah, congratulations
best sports
on that.
Radio show.
Congrats for the 8 people that listen. Congratulations. We're happy for you.
Jealousy is off the charts.
Jealous. I won one too. Who cares? No one cares. We got stuff to talk about, man.
We do.
People want to hear from you.
Stuff's going on.
Let's start. You want to talk golf? Let's talk golf. What do you make of yesterday? And Rory winning back-to-back.
Pretty resilient, I thought, on his part. Didn't have his best game. He was wild off the tee.
All weekend he was not very good.
Even on 18, he whips it way right. Ends up with a bogey?
Yeah, I'll give CBS a hard time on that, by the way. They couldn't find the golf ball. Yeah. I understand. It is incredibly hard to shoot golf. Incredibly hard. But they couldn't find the tee shots of Cam Young or McIlroy. Like, we're all waiting. Like, this is for the golf tournament.
The second shot,
too.
Was. And then, it's in the bunker.
that left a lot to be desired, honestly. And then they missed the last putt as well of him tapping in. But be that as it may, it certainly didn't lack for drama because on Friday night at 6 o'clock, thinking, well, this is going to be a snooze fest in the weekend, and that's not obviously what happened.
And every time Jim Nantz is in the Butler cabin with the winner, I go back to your line. It's the most awkward moment in sports.
Our good friend, former Bison baseball head coach Todd Brown, texted me yesterday. Goes, "Hey, has the tweet come out yet?" I'm like, "I'm actually sending it right now." Yeah. Here comes the most awkward TV moment all season, all year long, because and here it was made even more awkward because McIlroy won it, so there isn't the other golfer to sit there and present so they had Fred Ridley, who runs the club, do it yesterday. Just a tradition unlike any other, as they keep that one going on and on.
Interesting, the live golfers didn't fare very well again. And DeChambeau 6 over.
We were talking about this with Sam on our Thursday show, that the Champions golfers outscored the live golfers. What do you make of that?
Well, what I make of it is what everybody's saying with the live tour is it's easy street. You have 3 rounds. You're wearing shorts. You're not in competitive mode at top level week in and week out. And I think it makes a difference over time. That 4th round is different than the 3rd round.
Grind,
it's like the 4th quarter of a football game.
Yeah.
You're facing, say, a Bison power offense, throwing it at you. By the 4th quarter, you're like, I just don't want to tackle anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just to see a sport cut itself in two like that, and see some of those guys who were just like Cam Smith is another one who's a great golfer. He can't break 75 anymore playing in any of these majors. He hasn't made a cut in forever.
And you just can't discount the evidence anymore.
No, I mean, it's there. When I saw that tweet on Friday afternoon that the senior guys were outscoring the live, I'm like, wow, that's not great.
Good for them. They got their money. God bless them for all that. Yeah, go for that. But when it comes to the competitive nature of PGA Tour events, which the Masters, let's call it,
it's as good as it gets.
It's a PGA Tour event in format for sure.
It may have ruined their games, honestly, going and doing that.
Sure feels like it. Sure seems like it.
I mean, Koepka saw the writing on the wall, and now he's come back. I don't know if
he came back a little bit over the weekend.
Yeah, and I don't think his game is back, obviously, to where it was 6-7 years ago when he was rolling on the tour. So
Dustin Johnson,
he's unhurt,
disappeared.
Can't hear from him again. Just another one that disappeared. DeChambeau is the only one that, like, Bryson was runner-up or 3rd or 4th last year in the event. That's the only, and he won a U.S. Open a couple years ago. That's it. For the live
John Rahm
representation, right? Couldn't break 70. He was just all over the place on that. So Rory makes it back-to-back yesterday at Augusta. I mentioned it off the top of the show. It was pretty cool stuff this weekend. We were up at Bison football practice on Friday, and the old ball coach was back in town, huh?
Craig Bull is much more, even though he's in a pretty tough position.
He's in a very
as
big
the executive director of the FCA. Much more relaxed now than he was when he was a head coach. Much more. And just, we did the interview, but then just hanging out and talking the general state of football. He was really good, really fascinating. There's a lot of stuff going on. And Mike's column on, will he save college football?
Yeah.
He's one of the principal figures that is at the forefront of trying to do that.
I thought I mentioned this with Sam before you came on. He mentioned to us that the sky's not falling. Like, there are big things going on. But you and I have talked about this. The sport has never been more popular. Ratings are through the roof. People want it on their televisions. They can't get enough of it. But there's so much other stuff over here they have to fix with the sport right now.
Well, the 5 for 5, I think, is a definite possibility.
Which is interesting because he said that was like, we're not going to talk about it until the president brought it to the roundtable that they did in March.
Yeah. And what that is, if people don't know, so either your 19th birthday or your high school graduation, whatever's earlier, Your 5-year clock starts there. And effectively, you maybe age out. There's age limits. It's an age limit. It's like Little League Baseball. It's like high school athletics. If you're 20, you can't play anymore.
Right.
If you reach a certain age.
I am intrigued on the college hockey aspect of that.
Well, juniors are going to play 1 year, and that's it.
See, because most guys that arrive for college hockey are 20, 21 years old.
Well, that's probably not going to happen. Yeah,
right.
I think your junior teams, your Fargo Force of the world, are going to get it younger.
Yeah. And you're
going to have high school kids going after sophomore year, I suppose.
And they've been fighting that, specifically Minnesota high school teams. Hey, we want you to play for your high school team. Don't go to juniors.
That's going to hurt Minnesota high school hockey, no question.
That's certainly going to be on that. Because I thought of that immediately. Like, well, okay, college hockey is going to have a serious issue with that because but if you're elite talent, how many years are you playing college hockey? 1? Maybe 2 at max, right? Before you're off to the NHL. Like Keaton Verhoff.
You got to bet on yourself.
Like
then.
UND's best player is Keaton Verhoff. He's going to play 1. He's going to get drafted this June. He's going to the NHL.
But that doesn't include everybody who's in the USHL. I mean, there are thousands of players in Canadian juniors, and if you want a college scholarship, oh, by the way, you could get a college scholarship in hockey.
Yeah.
For 4 years.
Yeah.
You can get a degree from some really good schools.
This is an email I got in the first hour. I didn't have a chance to read it. Dom, the difference I'm reading in the court rulings in the eligibility questions, there are other players damaged by granting more and more eligibility. The player suing is claiming to be damaged by the policy, but a rule change granting more eligibility also limits options for graduating seniors. There are only so many schools with limited roster spots.
The NCAA spent $16 million on waivers in court costs this year.
And they're actually winning more of those cases than they're not, though. That's the thing.
And so the 5 for 5 eliminates waivers, no hardships, no red shirts.
Yep.
That just goes away. And you could play 5 years.
Right. I mean, like Donovan Woolen and Jackson Williams come right to mind. Now, they could spend another year here, and then if they wanted to transfer, they can go spend it somewhere else. But those are the kind of players that we're talking about that played as true freshmen that then would have the opportunity to play 5 full years of football without any issues of that. I'm on board. I've been on favor of this for
I have no
a long
problem
time.
with it. I mean,
basketball especially. Basketball gets killed on this.
The good players with the FCS level, you can play 4 games. You're almost playing 4.5 right now anyway.
Well, that's why they threw the proposal out to try and play 9 and have it count. I don't know where that
then just 5 for 5.
Right, that likely goes away. That's what it was, a bridge to the 5 for 5 was with the FBS
and the playoffs don't count. You could play 8 games your freshman year and still retain your year of eligibility.
Correct, like Donovan Woolen did in 2024 doing that. That, to me, I thought was a part of a way to go there. Basketball never had it, though. Richmond and I would talk about this all the time. That, well, football's got that. Like, you couldn't do that at all in basketball. That suddenly changes everything for college basketball rosters.
How many times have you and I looked at a football roster and look at a player and go, well, I think he's out of eligibility after this year, but you know, he only played 3 games, and was it injury? Was it hardship?
Right.
Did he make that 10% threshold?
Yeah. That over the certainly it got exasperating over the last few years because the COVID extra year was thrown into that as well. You interviewed Matt Larson on this. He made it seem, at least you can maybe extrapolate this better than I can, that this wasn't in the offing. I've heard otherwise, that they want to make this happen sooner than later.
You're talking about the 5 for 5.
Yes.
Yeah. Probably. I mean, he's on the Division I cabinet, and so he couldn't get into the specifics
right, he's going
of
to
it.
keep his cards close to the vest on that.
But he did say that he thinks it is up to them. They're not going to be able to do anything about NIL. They're not going to be able to do anything about that. It's earnings and they're not going to be able to touch that.
They had their chance 5 years ago. But they did nothing on it. So,
but it is up to them. I think he said his word. There's some urgency to get this done.
Yeah, I get a sense that this is going to happen before the football season. We're going to have a resolution on this before then.
I don't think so. I think it's not going to happen this year.
I'm not saying for 26. I'm saying
it'll be decided this year.
Yes, because college coaches can't go into this season knowing, okay, do I have this guy or not?
Because there are players going into the portal who we know they're out of eligibility.
Correct.
But they're banking on this happening for next year, and I just don't think it's going to happen.
So, well, it might for basketball. I don't know. Basketball, you still have a little bit more leeway because you have a couple more months before basketball starts. Football, I mean, what are we, 4 months out from the football season starting? Basketball, that extra 2 months? Because you're talking about like Tony Osborne, Lance Waddles. Waddles, who played 2 years in Fargo, played 2 years at Omaha. He's out of eligibility. He's in the portal though right
And
now.
I've heard that Markai Strickland's still going up to the NDSU compliance office. And is there any way I have another year?
Yeah, Markai's played a full 5.
Yeah, is there any avenue here?
Yeah, that's interesting if he would have that left. Consider he spent a year at a junior college. That's probably why.
And under the 5 for 5, he's 24. He would age out.
Yeah. See, I don't know how much
even
that
if he was hurt one year.
I don't know how much that would hold up in court. The age thing. I think it's the 5-year part of it. You know what I mean? Like they could lose that part of it. I could see. I do.
Okay.
I can see some lawyers that would say, nah, the age part of it.
Age discrimination?
Right. You cannot hold on that. The 5 part they would hold firm on. But the age, I could see that one. They would have a hard time on that.
Thank God there's not age discrimination in my company here. I'd probably be gone.
Okay, I'm not going to touch that one.
I'd be gone.
Let's break.
You're too
back.
old.
Yeah, let's
hit the road, buddy.
We'll talk some Bison football stuff. Also, Avery Coonan coming back for the Bison women's basketball team. We'll get Jeff.
We talk some Shanley stuff too. I got a couple of comments on that.
Want to? We sure could. Back on Hot Mic right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. You see the Trace and Anderson news there. We mentioned that. Heading to Butler. So we know 2 destinations for the Bison men's basketball players so far.
I think the other one of note that we don't know yet is Noah Feddersen.
I think Trayvon Carson. Carson's I think, going to be the highest ceiling guy in terms of money, I think, that's out there, in my opinion.
I didn't think that was going to be the case, but if you say so.
Yeah, I think he could get north of $1.5 million, probably somewhere in that range, for his
basically
size,
1 year.
ability.
For 1 year.
Yep. And late Friday, by the way, we were up at football practice. Nolan Milasali made it official that he is gone. So St. Thomas now lost all of its – because I got a bunch of Tommy fans like, well, we're all going to be back. Nah, St. Thomas lost all your heavyweights too. So – Johnny Towers got to go back to the
I would bet
Minnesota
tried his best to stay, and then after a while, the offers just got too much.
Right. He's going to, if he wants to go play at Wisconsin, well, he could certainly go and do that. He already started his career at Marquette and then transferred down to St. Thomas, was a really good player the last few years.
Trayson didn't want to leave. Yeah. It was emotional when he had to tell the coaching staff that he didn't want to leave. He really loved it here.
Yep.
But
again, money is the.
Javis Miller didn't want to leave 2 years ago.
Right.
Did not want to leave.
Also got over 7 figures to go to New Mexico. It's part of the deal. I have a little breaking news here. I heard this is in the offing. I'm going to go shout out to our guy, Larry Knutson. It's very official that he is officially retiring as the voice of the Moorhead Spuds. Over 50 years of calling Moorhead Spuds.
Larry the legend.
Larry got to see 2 state hockey championships, and he got to call the Spuds play in the state football championship this fall. So we'll get him back in studio soon. That is awesome news there. I got 2 emails to get to before. I know you wanted to a little the Shanley stuff to ask our thoughts on what we've seen from Bison spring practice when we were up there on Friday.
Nathan Hayes has one hell of an arm, I'll tell you that. And now, can he find the open guy, I guess, is what's going to matter when the bolts are on. Offensive line, I think, will be just fine. They've been shuffling a little bit.
Yeah. I think to what I asked Polisic this where they're at, corner is a spot to be really interested at because the 2 guys they brought in, E.J. Volts and DJ Davis, the 2 guys that they brought in from Division II schools, I think both have a really good chance to maybe be the guys, but they are not done adding. Polisic emphasized that with all of us when we were there on Friday, that they're going to be active to potentially add 2 to 3 guys.
2 to 3.
Once graduation comes about. So this is not the final roster even yet here as we sit on April 13th. There's going to be some more guys brought in apparently.
Keith Williams, the middle linebacker from Cornell, is what he tells 242.
Yes.
He doesn't look 242. He looks
big dude.
Yep. He's Joe Mays looked 240. Joe Mays' arms are like this.
It's a large dude.
And Keith Williams is just
put together.
Yeah.
And that's a guy that could potentially, he's played college football. And at that spot at linebacker, how many guys can you sit here and say have played a lot of college football? The answer is not many. You have Donovan Woolens played a ton of college football.
And he may play some middle too because some of these offenses apparently, and we will find out this year on how much more spread we'll see.
Now, see, I've opened up a can of worms. How many guys have actually played a lot of college football at linebacker? Woolens, when you think of it. Peter Haugo has played 1 year, didn't play a whole lot. Ray James played a little bit, hasn't played a ton. Gavin Sell played one
Alex
game.
Elliott.
Alex Elliott has never played a college football game, and in 4 years in college.
They all look the part.
Right,
They're all really good-looking athletes.
That to me says if Keith Williams, and we interviewed him on Friday, can pick this up, and that was his thing. It's like, I'm just trying to pick everything up, would be the leader in the clubhouse simply because he's played football.
Well, I think, in fact, he's an Ivy League guy. Probably tells you he's, and maybe he can pick it up better than most.
Think of the Ivy League track record the Bison have here as well.
Pretty good.
Jack Giuliano came in from Penn. I know he came from Albany, but he played 3 years at Penn and was a pretty good depth guy at defensive end. Shadimi Alfaro worked out really well. Was a starter at corner the last couple of years. These guys can play. We've been clamoring for years in the Ivy League. There's guys that can play in that conference. So that's one update there. I would go to defensive line. I know you wrote about this, I think, last week. Because I interviewed Anthony Oakes, the transfer from Montana Tech, and we have a story on him on the news this week. How about this guy who transfers in from NAIA thinking, well, I'm going to go play FCS football, and then finds out, no, you're going from NAIA to the FBS. Quite the interesting journey for him.
Defensive end, and he looks the part, too. He's, 250, 255 or something like that as a DN, been around. I know it's Montana Tech, but guys come in at that level and develop and get pretty good.
I think he'll be A-OK for them at defensive. The
I
defensive
know.
line
I was in on that interview
right.
with you, and pretty impressive young man.
Defensive line, I think, is going to be A-OK there for NDSU. You also have another email comes in on the special team situation, because obviously the Bison are going to have a new kicker in 2026.
Yeah, I have a story coming out on Drew Klein tomorrow, and here's a guy, he was ready to leave because he has 1 year left. And Eli Ochik was going to come back. But Eli goes in the portal, goes to Iowa, and all of a sudden Drew Klein goes, oh, I think I'll stay.
And now it's his job.
He's got some leg, He's got some he's got some boom, and it's his job.
And then we'll be intrigued to see. We've only seen a little bit of Drew between kickoffs. I think a couple of field goal attempts he's had over the past couple of years. So that's, again, they're going to spots where they have not been to before that – we'll be really interested to see what the kicking situation will be like at those particular locations. But he's going to be the guy coming in for kicker in 2026. You wanted to have a couple minutes here. Tell me what your thoughts on what you saw on the Shanley deal over the weekend.
The typical high school parental issues where what I have understood is Beth Maher wanted some accountability and maybe a little discipline within her team.
Radical concepts there both in 2026.
Again, I was a parent of hockey players and baseball players, and I've seen both sides. The overzealousy and these are nameless parents.
Yeah,
they're nameless parents. The ADs, it's on inform.com. His statement, what a bunch of bland.
It's a nothing burger.
It's a nothing.
Yes,
my goodness.
It's 3 sentences of nothingness.
And it's a private school, so we can't FOIA any emails or do open records request on any personnel files.
I doubt they'd be stupid enough to email anything. I would imagine they were texting.
But you can't anyway as a private school.
Yes.
So, they may have picked on the wrong person here.
Oh,
and I'm talking about Beth, who's a former NDSU star player, married a NDSU All-American, daughter is a well-known singer who's been on the Today Show. You may have picked on the wrong person. Carla Nelson, one of the most respected coaches ever in this area, the college coach at Minnesota State Moorhead, comes to her defense on social media. I've never seen that. Have you? I've never seen.
The outpouring was overwhelming. I figured it would be.
Former players, and I get that. Casey Morlock, the all-time leading scorer at NDSU. Former players coming to the rescue or to the defense. You see that. But to see somebody like Carla, and she knows she's a public eye and a huge public figure in this area, you may have picked on Shanley. You may have picked on the wrong person.
Yeah, I just don't understand the reason.
What do you
especially,
want? They won 16 games.
What are you looking for here?
It's just
23-0. I mean, come on. What are we doing?
And Beth is such a good promoter on social media of women's and girls' athletics.
And that's the other thing I'm going to hit on in the next segment. There's now one woman coaching in the top level of girls basketball.
I talked to a former AD at a Twin Cities high school, and she's been around. She knows her stuff. And she said, you need an AD that can stand up to these parents.
Has a backbone, yes.
Because she's done that. And I don't want to name her name because I didn't get permission, but you need to have an AD who can stand up to that.
And I'll say this, Stephen Weber is a Shanley alum. He graduated from the bleeping school.
Well,
I mean, come on.
And he told Ryan Spitzer that his review went pretty well last week.
Yes, both of them had glowing reviews. Both of them did, from what I was told. And a week later, they're both out. Come on. I just, we cover a lot of college stuff.
May have picked on the wrong person here.
We cover plenty of college stuff that baffles us in terms of decisions, but for the most part, that is refined to high school in terms of these kind of things.
Hey, the couple times when Luke Rustad got in the face of my son at Fargo Legion, it's coaching.
Right.
I didn't go down running. What are you doing to my son?
Because you respect of what their job is to do that, right? There's a line there. And there's just apparently, specifically at that school, there is none whatsoever. It just boggles the mind. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks for mentioning my award.
Good job. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Jeff Kolpack joining us each and every Monday at 10. We'll come back. Much more on the Shanley situation. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns after this. Welcome back, everybody. Final half hour here on a Pack Monday show. Appreciate y'all joining us today. If you missed our top story, the biggest local sports story over the weekend was the dismissal of the two Shanley basketball coaches, Stephen Weber, who coaches the boys, and Beth Maher, who coached the girls, each for the last 3 seasons, were fired. And reasoning for that is still cloudy at best. Mind-numbing is another way to describe it. We got a few emails in I want to read here, and then I want to show you kind of a pattern that has gone down at said school. Don, the problem is not just parents. Let me read that again, sorry. The problem is not just parents. It's parents with money, my opinion. Potentially. Dom, dare one of the parents from Shanley to come on your show. Let them explain themselves. The door is open. I've extended that out to any and all. I did that over the weekend. Both coaches also have my number if they feel free to use it. The athletic director has my number. They feel free to come in. Either we can do it on Zoom or you come sit right here and explain it. Because I think there's certainly a lot of people would like to know why. And again, the longer it goes, the more questioning of why this went down. That to me would be the lingering part of why of this. So I mentioned earlier the amount of change that has happened at the school, and we put a graphic together. This is just since 2020. The last 6 years in boys basketball and volleyball of the coaches that have been run through there. Andrew Burns was the coach for a couple of years, got Shanley to state. They're a parent-led mutiny when they actually went to practice and wanted to force a change and got what they wanted. The entire staff quit in the middle of the season. Tony Paper took over, former South standout, and coached them for a couple of years until Tony was done. Craig Irwin came in for 1 season and actually, I believe, got Shanley to state that year. And I believe Stephen Weber was one of his top assistants on staff at Shanley. And obviously, Weber has coached the team for the last 3 years. And I documented earlier, Weber is a Shanley alum that no longer will coach the team. Volleyball. Mark Quinnett was the coach for a couple years. Alexis Bachmeyer took over Shanley for 1 season and evidently was run out there. Taylor Preston is coach for the last couple years, who was Bachmeyer's assistant, and she just stepped down in December as head coach of the team. I had this sent to me. Since 2017, 11 coaches in volleyball and boys basketball have left. Over the last 9 years, 11 in those particular sports, in boys basketball and volleyball. Steve Jacobson was the longtime coach for the Shanley girls, who stepped aside. Beth was coaching in JV for Shanley. Like, she's been in the system as well for the last handful of years. And Kolpack's point is well taken on that as well. This is not some unknown figure in the area, right? This is a very popular person. She played basketball at North Dakota State, right? She's been in the Shanley pipeline forever. Kids go to school there. I mean, like, it's not some outsider that they decided that they're going to move on from. And again, I'll bring up the point on this that they were given glowing grades for their coaching just a couple weeks ago, and then a couple weeks later, they were done. Now, it doesn't just stick to those two sports. I was told football had a similar instance where Troy Mattern, who's won state championships at Shanley, right, was supposedly on the hot seat because of, again, the most moronic thing you can think of in terms of playing time. Think about this. A couple years ago, Jax Mattern, who's Troy's son, who's going to go play football at Concordia, right? He was the starting quarterback. Carson Busick was the backup. From what I was told, that, and I know the Busicks, and I trust the sources on this, that apparently there were powers that be that they wanted Carson Busick to play over Jax Mattern. So much so that the powers that be on that went to Mark Holcraft, the athletic director, to force a change at quarterback or to remove the head coach. Now, the one stipulation here that is different from what I was told is that Troy doesn't report to the athletic director. Troy reports to the school president. And that was the saving grace, you can say, on why nothing happened there. That was not the case with these two basketball coaches. And I would tell you this, you want to pick a fight with a guy who's, I mean, another one that, and I'll freely say it here, Troy's a friend of mine. I've known Troy for the better part of 20 years, right? So you want to put bias aside, okay. Just look at his record. I mean, what else are we looking for? But again, when it comes down to my son wants to play, especially at that position where only one can play, then yeah, it's going to get ugly. And again, if it's the head coach's son, I'm sure there's a whole other layer of politics and just garbage that comes in with it. But it's not like Jax Mattern was bad either. If you want to just talk about what's happening on the field, he was pretty darn good. Email comes in. Dom, it's okay and expected for parents to fight for their child. It should be expected that coaches, teachers, and schools are fighting for all the children. It should be an easy thing to tell parents when they complain. Parents behaving how I would expect poorly, but this is on the administration if it's simply parent complaints that it's driving it. Yeah, I'm not. Yes, you want to fight for your kid, fine. But also, you know your place in this, right? Like, the coach knows what they're doing. That part, I don't agree with that. Like, if the coach is telling you got to play better or play harder or do something better, then do it. I didn't play varsity sports. I wasn't good enough. But the sports I did play, the coach told me, hey, you're not playing because you can't hit the ball, then figure out how to hit the ball. Some of this is on said individual, right? At what point are we going to stop being just, it's not all on parents here, or it's not all on the coach to figure it out, right? Sometimes it's on the individual player, like, okay, I got to get better. I got to work harder. I got to train better. I got to read more, right? Like, to me, it just boils down to, well, my son isn't playing enough. My daughter was coached too hard or was spoken to in a manner that they didn't like. There is a line here, right, between being abrasive, brash, then as opposed to simply coaching hard. And I think that one has got completely muddied. There's just no gray area there on that anymore. And I'm not talking any kind of physical altercation. That's not what I'm talking about. You can't put your hands on anybody. That's automatic disqualification. Get out. I got no time for that, right? But in other instances where it's just like we're being coached hard or we're being told to get better, I don't know Mark Holcraft. I don't know him. I do know he had no athletic administration background when he was hired. He's a real estate guy, right? I think there's part of that, and I deal with ADs all the time. The good ones have had plenty of background, have worked at a couple spots. They have experience dealing with parents. They got experience dealing with coaches. They got experience dealing with administrators. That is a thankless job, right? But the best schools, the ones that are consistently really good, outside of having really good athletes and having really good coaches, what else do they have? They have the really good administrators. They put the best people in their spots to succeed, and then they get out of the way. And Shanley hasn't had that. Flat out, they have not. Leon Knodel was the last on the boys basketball side who didn't get run out. And you know what Shanley had? The late, great Randy Nelson. When Randy passed, over a decade ago now, Randy was that guy. And the Shanley parents know what I'm talking about, the ones of a certain age. Stephen Weber would know what I'm talking about because Randy was the AD then. Randy was that guy. He would fight for his coaches, and he wouldn't put up with that. And since Randy passed, frankly, they've been rudderless at that position. And that's why you have the stats that we're talking about, where you've run through the amount of coaches that you have and run good young coaches. If you look at the age range of those coaches up there, specifically on the volleyball side, in their young 20s who are wanting to get into it. And then if you have a terrible experience, what do you think's going to happen? Nah, it's not for me. I'm moving on. Find something else to do. I thought I might want to do it and then have that kind of experience. Who would blame them? A couple other emails here coming in. Will be interesting, Dom, to see if we hear any information on what was going on at Shanley. We're working on it. I can tell you there are people talking. They're talking to me. I know they're talking to Ryan Spitza. There'll be more that comes out, I'm sure. Vetting it all. Shanley's done talking. The next thing they're going to do is they'll make their hires. And good luck to the two coaches that are stepping into that, because that's a minefield there. Another email comes in. Dom, it comes with the territory. You know, I couldn't disagree more on that one either. There are parts of it, yeah. There are headaches that come with it and dealing. Most coaches have also told me we have meetings that happen before the season begins with our parents. And we say, this is what we are expecting of said child or said individual, and this is what's going to happen this year. I'm going to coach your son or daughter this particular way, and this is how it's going to be. And if there are any issues, you can come talk to me directly. You don't go around me and talk to my boss. And more often than not, when we get to this situation, that's exactly what's happened. The communication line did not happen there. They went around and talked to boss. And then it's up to the boss, the athletic director, to say, no, I'm not dealing with it. And we've had that. We've had people say that on our show. Said, no, that's not my deal. You talk to the head coach. Instead, that didn't happen in this particular situation. And now they got to deal with it. And I get, there are some I'm sure they're sitting to me like, Dom, I don't know why you're spending time on this. It's a private school that Shanley's already got a ton of people that don't care for them to begin with because of how they act or how they perceive themselves. That's fine. That doesn't give them the right to run out two people that, frankly, had done a good job. And at Beth Maher's case, they went to state back-to-back years. I mean, what else are you looking for? That's the crux of it to me. That's why it's important for us to talk about today. I don't know many other shows that will. We're going to do it. And I wanted to make sure we had some runway to do it today. And I appreciate the comments coming in and for the people that have spoke out to me and said something. I got one other email I want to get to. Stefan can coach. He knows the game, a wonderful communicator and teacher. I wish people would realize some things are not in control of a coach. Injury, illness, insubordination could all affect a season. Deacons had a 6'9" and a 6'7" post that had injuries and illness the last 2 years. They have been competitive. Being a small school, they don't have many kids, if any, walking the halls of Shanley with any size. I mean, that happens as well. Injuries happen. Having some understanding of that is important. One more before we go. Dom, it's money and parents. I've seen it firsthand when my kid was there. How many ADs have they also been through? Great point. Again, Randy passed away, I think, in 2015. Then Brecker took over after that, and Brecker was a coach. Brecker was there. I believe Reggie Jackson was after that, and then Holcroft. So at least 3. There might be another one I'm forgetting in there. If I am, I apologize. How many ADs have they also been through? They threatened to pull donations. Here you go. They threaten to pull donations if their kids don't play or don't get rid of the coaches. I mean, thank you. We got the email of the day at 10:45. I appreciate that because there it is in black and white, clear as crystal. Eric's telling me we got to wrap. Let's do it. We'll come back. We'll get our poll question answered, and we'll get you ready for a busy Monday. Hot Mike wraps on WDAY Extra right after this. All right, wrapping things up here on a Monday. Tomorrow you'll hear from former Bison head coach, Hall of Famer Craig Bull will be on our program tomorrow. One last email, because this is good as well. Dom, how does the coaching turnover at Shanley compare to other area high schools? Funny you asked that, so I wrote it down. On the boys' side, since just looking at our stats here, right? Let's go back 10 years, 9 years, 2000, just good round number, right? 2017. West Fargo, none. Davies, none. Cheyenne has had 1 head coach change. North has had 3. South has had 2. Girls' side, West Fargo, 3. Davies, 2. Cheyenne, 2. North, 2. South, 2. Shanley boys are going to be on their 5th. Girls on their 4th, excuse me. It's not even close. Answered our poll question here today. We had some votes here. Don't get into coaching. I knew that was going to be the case. And I hate that. I do. Because that's the byproduct of doing this, of what they have done, is going to chase away young coaches from getting into the profession. It's the same thing with officiating, right? I don't know any young people that want to go and officiate games right now because people are terrible in the stands. That goes right to it there on that point. I hope that's not the case, but I would not blame them 100% on wanting to get into it. Not one iota. Again, it's not even close compared to the others, just the area schools here in town. West Fargo, Davie. I'm not counting Horace. Horace has only been on the scene for 3 years. But the other ones that have been around for 10 or more, West Fargo, Davie, Cheyenne, North, and South, not even close. Not even close on what's going on there. Let's do some what to watch before we get out of here. Appreciate all the emails, guys. It was good stuff here today. All right, Twins going. Can they keep this hot streak going? We got the Red Sox in town with Garrett Crochet tonight, 6:30 on Twins TV to open up the first of a set there. We'll see. Weather is not looking great either, but we'll have highlights if there are a game coming up on the show tomorrow. The Wild only have 2 games left now in the regular season. Next to last tonight against the Blues. 7 o'clock on FanDuel Sports North. This is the end of the road for the regional cable outlets as well. The Wolves played their last game on FanDuel yesterday. The Wild have 2 left before it's on to new beginnings for them next season. We'll save some time for that as well this week. And the WNBA draft is tonight, 6 o'clock on ESPN. The Lynx hold the number 2 pick. We have no idea who's going to be number 1 yet in the WNBA draft. That's tonight. Of course, there's 2 new teams in the league, Portland and Toronto. So we'll find out all that coming up on the show tomorrow. Before we leave you, from yesterday, the ultimate bat flip in the Texas-Oklahoma softball game, a walk-off home run for the Longhorns off the apartment complex yesterday. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Appreciate all the emails and texts. We'll do it all over again tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Have a great Monday. See you tomorrow.